I'm going to do an intro now. You're going to finish interrupting?
No, never. You know me better than that. Come on. Right, go on. Sorry.
So I like, mate. This is Scotty and Motty. This is going to be the post-match pint or post-match brew, but that's not illiterate. So we've got post-match pint. We're going to talk about football. Yeah, what are you grinning at? You're not helping me at all. Anyway, so we're going to talk
about me just because I was trying to work something out.
We're going to talk about football now for the next half an hour. Talking points over the past week, games and highlights and shit. Project Restart. Both massive Man United fans, but we want to try and keep this as non-partisan as possible and just talk about what's been kicking off. Excuse the pun. But Project Restart. One thing I wanted to talk about as we're talking about race relations in football was John Terry taking the knee for Aston Villa versus Chelsea earlier on today. I seen lots of comments on social media, as you'd expect. I seen your comments on social media.
Jay, well, I don't comment on anything on social media, and I certainly don't take the piss out of things on social media.
what was it right for was it right for him to do it, or how did it make you feel given the history?
I thought it was laughable. I'll say one thing, right? And when the whole Anson Ferdinand John Terry thing kicks off, well, let's cut what it is. Not a thing. When John Terry shouted, "You effing black, see you next Tuesday," at Anson Ferdinand, which he's admitted doing, he just said he did it in response to something. Yeah, when that all happened, I was like outraged and I was fuming. And I thought John Terry was spineless, and I thought the whole defense was flawed. And people didn't get the idea that the sort of burden of proof in the courts of law. So you go to the court of law and you found not guilty, it doesn't mean you didn't do it. It just means they haven't got the proof to show that you 100% did it. And it was a magistrate who said no, he didn't. And then the FA charged him with it, and he got a ridiculously low ban. I think it's 4 matches, a 4-match ban for racially abusing him. So I've always been a little bit outraged with it, and I was thought, the short and long of it is he did what he did and got 4 matches, 4-match ban, and didn't really suffer much from it at all. And I don't think I got dogs abuse. Real Ferdinand got dogs abuse from Chelsea fans. And when I saw that today, I didn't see it on the game. I was actually out at the time. I saw it on social media, and I was like, "Are you having a laugh?" And then I was with our kid, and he said, "Well, he can't stand John Terry." He said, "I'm guessing he just sort of felt he had to do it, and if he didn't do it, then is he going to get stick for not doing it?"
Yeah, the outcome would have been worse.
Yeah, but I think, do you know what? Unless you're going to come out and apologise for what you've done and hold your hands up, then no, you shouldn't do it. You shouldn't do that. I think it's just hypocritical, and it just makes a mockery of it now. You just got, he did it on, you remember the social media thing where everyone posted a black square?
Yeah.
He did it then. Luis Suarez did it then. And these are people that, have been found guilty of racially abusing other players, and they've failed to hold their hands up and admit it and say sorry. And then they're going, "Oh, like they care." And I just think it's just disingenuous. It really is. I get why he did it. I feel like he probably felt he had to. But I don't for one minute think John Terry gives a shit about black people. He just doesn't. It's a nonsense.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask you, actually. Is it... So it's more for you. It's more like a token gesture that he had to be seen to do something, because if he hadn't, it would have got the uproar worse than he had done it. But years down the line, you don't think that maybe we should be saying, as John Terry, is he not a reformed character, or should he have made the apology to actually make any sort of progression or move on in the public's eye?
Like, to be a reformed character, you've got to admit you're wrong. I consider myself a reformed character, Scott. I was in and out of shit when I was younger. Yeah. I hold my hands up to that. I had a drink and a drug problem, and I hold my hands up to that as well. And I'm sober now, and try to do the best I can. But I don't go around saying I never did anything wrong. I don't go around saying, well, people were lying, people were making it up. That's not me. That's not what I did. It's outrageous that I got accused of it. I admit it.
Sure.
Say I've learned from it. I've grown from it. I'm not that same person, and I try to be a better human being. He's not done any of those things. So in what way is he reformed? Society's changed and the views have changed. So now where it's like Black Lives Matter and it's become a massive talking point, he's not changed. He's not been doing anything different. He's not come out and said, "Do you know what? I didn't handle that right. I lost my rag." He can't now because he's gone down the legal route anyway, and he got found not guilty. If he came out now, he'd probably look like an idiot because he went to court and everything. But he's not. At least he could say even though I thought I heard that, I shouldn't have shouted it out, even though that's a nonsensical fucking thing. I shouldn't have uttered those words. But let's not forget. I mean, I could go on about all day about this. You know, he changed his story. At first, it was blind, then it was black. Ashley Cole changed his story as well, backing him up. There's so many different things that just didn't add up about it as a defence. But he got not guilty in the court, and there's nothing you can do about that. You have to jump and say, right, he got found not guilty. But yeah, I don't think he's reformed at all. And I think for me, no matter what goes on with John Terry's career, that will always be hanging over him. You know, he was linked with United once.
I seen that came out last week, didn't it? I think when he was so close, and I think his dad wanted him to sign for United.
No, sorry, not when he was a kid. Yeah, when he was a kid, he was. But then when Jose took over, there was talk that Jose was going to bring in John Terry.
Oh fucking hell! Post the incident.
Yeah. And I said, I took my season ticket down the grid. I wouldn't have gone and sat and cheered him. Not a chance.
Yeah, I can't imagine that would have
not a fucking chance. Especially
that would have shown the arrogance of the bloke to actually think of taking the move. Really, I mean,
Jose automatically wanted to get half the crowd against him. Coming in and bringing John Terry with you would have been an absolute blinding move. Do you know what I mean? That would have been like guaranteed that no one really was behind you at all. So yeah, I think it was paper talk, to be honest with you. I think people just thought he wasn't getting a game at Chelsea. United were a bit short of defenders or whatever. Oh, Jose loves him, he'll bring him with him. But nah, he never got off the ground, especially with Rio Ferdinand's connections to the club as well. You'd have thought, fucking hell, what a slap in the face for him. I mean, listen, other people may see it different. And Ferdinand, I know he didn't forgive him at the time, didn't shake his hand. One day he might forgive him, Rio might forgive him, whatever, but I don't. I'll forgive people. Me and you spoke about cancel culture and people have the opportunity to move on. Massive, massive fan of that. But until you hold your hands up and say you did something wrong, then you can't move forward, in my opinion.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. But you let us know out there what you think about John Terry. Would you forgive him if he would apologise? Was he right to take the knee? Comment at the bottom as well, subscribing. Right, next, so football is back. It's first week now of the first round of games. I struggled at the beginning, I'll admit, but I've sort of got into it now. I think the players as well. I think most first halves of all the matches have been a bit sluggish, and then the second half just seemed to be a bit better when the players have got used to the surroundings and stuff. How have you found the first round of games?
I found him a little bit training ground-esque, and I don't know if that's because of the no fans, and I'm just feeling that. But I don't know if the intensity is quite there, and I think most of the games have sort of opened up because of the games I've been watching. A few of them have been because of a sending off or a mistake.
Yeah.
And then it seemed to get the game going. We saw it with Arsenal and City. David Luiz got sent off. I know he came on, made mistakes, and then got sent off. We saw it in Newcastle, Sheffield United, and I got sent off as well, didn't he? We've seen some games that have obviously been, without sending offs that have had high intensity. But a few, like Spurs and United, felt a little bit like a training game.
Yeah.
The Scousers, Everton, Liverpool felt like a training game to me. Didn't have that quite intensity. And I know Everton Liverpool's a funny one because a lot of the time it ends in a draw anyway. So that's
they're never great derbies, are they?
No, not at Goodison. I think they've had 9 draws out of the last 11 games there, or something silly. But I don't know. It just feels a little bit like maybe it's because there's the stop-start nature of the water breaks that have turned into like mini coaching sessions as well. It's not just a water break. It's like a little bit. There's the is it 5 subs, I think? So you're getting a lot more stop-starting in the game.
Yeah.
Plus the no crowd. I think that adds maybe to the feeling. I mean, the players might be running as fast and as trying as hard. I'm not saying the players aren't trying, but there might be that level of intensity that you're seeing. It just doesn't feel like that at the minute. So I think it's going to take a little bit of getting used to. I mean, watching the Merseyside derby before with no fans there and so many breaks and stuff, it just felt weird. It really did. It's, and even United's game the other night, it just didn't feel quite like that. But then again, it's a Jose Mourinho game, innit? So
yeah.
They're not very often games where it's end-to-end attacking fluent football, are they? It's usually, they can be quite sort of difficult to watch when it's Jose Mourinho team against a quite evenly matched team. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He doesn't tend to sort of go out all guns blazing. It becomes one of those games. So I think it's probably, if this makes any sense, it's going to take the fans a long time to get used to it. I think the players may get there before the fans, if you know what I mean. I think we may just have to get our head around it because in a minute it still feels like I'm watching United A team rather than the first team. So yeah, I'm a bit like, this isn't great, but it's been what, like you said, a week or whatever, a weekend. So we've got a long way to go, and we might have to get used to this because we don't know, do we, when fans are going to be back.
Yeah, like next season. I mean, the thing is, at the beginning of lockdown, we didn't think we'd be able to live indoors for fucking 23 hours a day. So we do have the ability to adapt to the circumstances. One thing I've found quite comical is the fan noise that the stadiums are putting in, and it's been comical because do you remember Pro Evo back on the PlayStation years ago? Not the new ones because everyone's onto FIFA nowadays. But I used to have this snide import like copy version of Pro Evolution, and it was that bad a copy that the sound effects would always happen like about 5 seconds after the action. So that's what's happening today at Liverpool. Like I think Richarlison had a decent effort and it went over, and then you heard like a moan about 10 seconds after. It was like who's mixing on the PA system? It's just it's like it's Richarlison.
Someone got it right on the Sheffield. I think it was Sheffield United Villa. I think someone got it quite right. It might have been City and Arsenal. I can't remember. But there was one where he hit the side netting, and they did a cheer like you get in a game where like, and then it ended quickly. And I thought they've got that bang on because it sounded like you would at a game. You know, I've done it millions of times when you think it's gone in and it's not. And then what they didn't get though was then the counter cheer because you usually get really like you know what I mean. When you dickheads. So yeah, you're right. It's all a bit weird, but it's new, it's teething, and we've got to get used to it. So little things like that. I know you've got options, haven't you? What you can listen to. I've seen people saying they prefer listening to a no crowd. They like to hear the players talking. I've had it with the crowd noises. I don't think it makes that much of a difference, but yeah, this is where we're at the minute, and we've just got to sort of get on with it and make the best of it. It's difficult and it's hard as a fan. Me and you are match going fans, and I'm not saying that we're special or people that don't go to the game are any less of a fan than us. I'm not saying that at all. I get that for millions of United fans, you can't even get to the game, or millions of football fans. But part of our routine is going to the matches. It is. Yeah. So it's a bit weird that that's taken away from you, and to see the games without any fans there, it just doesn't feel right at all. So yeah, I'm just gonna have to, like most things in life, just get used to it.
Yeah.
Games don't like change, do we?
No, don't like change. The forms haven't really changed though. I mean, Arsenal are still shit. I think I think Liverpool were probably a better team today, and they'll definitely go on to win the league.
Do you think just on that? Do you think they were a better team?
I think towards the end of the game, I thought Everton threatened, but I don't think Alisson didn't have much to do up until I think the 80th minute.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair comment out because I missed a lot of. I think much of the first half, so I can't really say what went on then. But yeah, from what I saw Everton, but it just seemed a bit typical. I've seen a lot of Everton fans. I follow a few Everton fans, not a lot, but a few, and they were saying like, "Oh, it's not a bad result for us, and we had a good go at them." And I think that's the problem. They settle for that, don't they, Everton?
Yeah, I think they'd rather draw than get beat. I think that's better for them,
and they're quite happy that they turned up.
Yeah, I think Sheffield United seem to have suffered the most though from the form they had before lockdown to what's happened now with the defeats. That was a heavy defeat at Newcastle, wasn't it? Getting done 3-0 by the Magpies. Do you think that how has it affected them differently to anybody else? Any reason?
Sorry, say that again, mate. Sorry.
I was saying Sheffield United seemed to be the one that sort of, out of all the informed teams before lockdown, Sheffield United seem to be the ones that have had the most negative impacts coming back into form with the games after.
Yeah, I think. I mean, it might be part of that. I don't know. Sheffield United, they're quite a close knit team, aren't they? They're like quite tactical. It doesn't tend to chop and change it a lot. I don't know whether this sort of 5 subs is a hindrance to them. I know, was it Dean Smith from Villa was saying it hurts the smaller teams. Yeah. They haven't got the big squads. But then you look at Sheffield United's games and you say, well, they played Newcastle and Villa. So they've not exactly played,
expansive teams.
Yeah, teams with a big, massive squad. But I definitely think that it's going to take a little bit getting used to for all teams. And I think really Sheffield United might be a problem for them was they had that momentum of the season in the sense that they'd exceeded expectations. No one thought they were going to do anything other than get relegated. They were sort of in with a shout of top 4 even, an outside chance of top 4, which is phenomenal. And they had all that momentum going and all that good stuff and all that goodwill. and it's like sort of almost the country's like behind him, almost like this is great, what's going on, and then you have this 3-month break, and it's difficult then to get that going again, especially when you're a team that have punched above your weight, which is what Sheffield United have done all season. So whilst it's relatively difficult for the likes of United or Chelsea or whatever to get back into the swing of things, it's much more difficult for a team like Sheffield United, who have exceeded expectations all season, have had that momentum, to then have that break and get back into it. So yeah, I think that might be part of the problem, is because they like I said, they've been doing better than probably they should have been doing, if that makes any sense. I know the league table doesn't lie, but you know what I mean. And now they've got to try and pick that back up again, and it's not easy. And it's not, especially when you've got players who've been playing out of the skin. You know, these players have been playing probably better than they've played in their entire career, a lot of them. And Dean Henderson's one of those players, you know, the lad from United. He's having a phenomenal season. And it's hard to carry that on when you've had this big break. And also, you know, teams are up for it against you and are like, you know, this is Sheffield United, whereas earlier on in the season, they were a bit of a surprise package and people were probably not taking it easy, but probably didn't expect to be up against one of the top teams. Now, Sheffield United, you know you're in for a fight, so you're going to be well up for it. So that's difficult as well.
Yeah, I mean, I do wonder if they'll probably look back at this season, if they do fall off the sort of momentum that they had before the break, and then they sort of fall down to 7th or 8th, and then that, which would have been a great season when they just got promoted, but now it probably will. Looking back, they'll say there'll be lots of what ifs. You know, I mean, I think there'll be a lot of that sort of questions about it. But I think these are one with Sheffield United on a decline. It is definitely something that benefits Man United. So how did you see us the other night against Spurs? You were saying before it felt like a training game, but there was 2 glaring negatives. I think we can say in Maguire and then more so De Gea. But obviously the positives with Pogba coming back and then the relationship between him and Fernandes. Do you see us being able to sort of build on that and actually push for the top 4 now?
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit frustrating. I think hindsight's a wonderful thing. Me and you were chatting. I was saying I wanted to see Pogba start with Bruno. We should have gone for it. I also wanted to see Brandon Williams start, to be honest with you. And I think he should have done, because I thought Shaw was just as culpable as the players you've mentioned for that goal. I still don't get that, heading it and then just running towards it. It's just, as a defender, it's just baffling. But yeah, I think that it's frustrating, because I think had we started with Pogba, or at least brought him on at half time along with Greenwood, I think Greenwood comes on earlier, he gets that chance earlier, or that's his second chance, and he finishes it. I think we waited too long with our subs. But I think, the positive one thing now is, Ollie's got to look at that and think Bruno and Pogba have got to start together. He can't ignore that now. He can't. And I think also he'll probably think Greenwood's got to start over James.
Yeah.
You know, I sort of got it for the first game, even though I don't agree with it. Spurs away, tricky one. All right, we've had this break. I'm going to go with Luke Shaw, who's more experienced. I'm going to go with 2 holding midfielders rather than 1. Pogba's not playing much football. I'm going to wait. I sort of get it, even though, like I said, I don't agree with it. But now there's no excuses for Sheffield United. Now you've got to go for it. You've got to pick, you know, your strongest team, which is Bruno, and it's Mason Greenwood as well. And I'd argue it's probably Brandon Williams at left back, because you know, as you mentioned, the defense wasn't great. Luke Shaw was culpable. Harry Maguire looked like he was like some sort of oil tanker turning on a river or something. It was shockingly slow. And David De Gea, who I've been quite critical of over the last 12 months, if I'm being honest, probably a bit longer. I think he's not been at his best at all. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt on this one, just because it's the first game back after a while. It might have been, I've heard this argument put forward, and I can sort of understand it. It might have been a little bit more difficult than it looked. Now that sounds nonsensical, so I'll explain. Because the shot wasn't quite into his body, and it wasn't where he had to stretch. It was like
sort of in between the two.
So it's like you're not catching it, you're not quite parrying it. He still should have saved it, but I don't think it's as bad as perhaps even myself have made out in retrospect, having a few times to look at it. So I'll give him the benefit now because he's had this layoff, but he's got to pick up his performances, man, because we've had too many mistakes with David De Gea over the last 12 months. And, you know, you can like, there's been about like 8 or 9, probably more since Spurs away last season. You know, I don't name them all, but you look at, you know, Barcelona, Chelsea, Watford, Everton, Palace. He's racking them up, and it's a real concern. So, yeah, he needs to sort it out, because obviously Dean Henderson due back in the summer or whatever happens there, then he might have competition for his place. So yeah, there's things to sort out for Ollie, but I think the fixable. I don't think there's any issues there, and even though I'm a little bit disappointed we didn't take all 3 points, a point at Tottenham is not the end of the world.
Yeah, and you got to think we got to think with the form of Sheffield United over the last 2 games, and us going to there is probably the best time. I'm glad we're going to Sheffield United now post coronavirus. Then it would it could be beforehand, because it would have been a more difficult game. But I think Brandon Williams in the home game was fantastic, wasn't he? Against I think that's when he really had his man of the match appearance. When
Bramall Lane. Sorry, it was the first game was against them. It was at Bramall Lane, wasn't it? Yeah. He was, mate. Well. Weird thing is about that game, Bramall Lane against Sheffield United. I thought the first maybe hour was the worst we've ever played under Ollie. I genuinely do. I thought we were terrible, and I mean almost to a man. Now we've seen some like bad performances under Ollie, usually against lower teams. You know, we've lost to Bournemouth, we've lost to we lost to Watford, we've lost to Newcastle, West Ham, Palace, Burnley. But you know, when those games have happened, you've had at least 1 or 2 players that you thought have done all right. But for that first hour against Sheffield United, we were all over the place. Passing had gone to pot. We were second best all over the pitch. You know, we weren't picking up second ball. The strikers weren't getting any service at all. It was just shocking. And then we picked it up, and you mentioned Brandon Williams there. Bang on, yeah, great goal, got us going. We get another one, then we get another one as well. It looks like we're going to win the game, and then last minute we just give away a daft goal, which was a comedy of errors in defence, and you leave Bramall Lane sort of annoyed that you've not picked up all 3 points. So yeah, now it is a different sort of kettle of fish because they don't have that momentum. I think we won't play as badly as we did then. I think even though we haven't got a crowd, being at Old Trafford does give us an advantage because this is why I was annoyed when it looked like it was going to have to be played at a neutral venue, because you there's little things like for a player. Your match day routine, you know, you're traveling, you know where you're going. You're not having to travel at all. You just go into the ground. You're used to the changing room. I know this sounds silly, but
I agree with you.
Yeah, players get used to these sorts of things, and it just helps you a little bit. Being in a stadium where you play week in, week out, rather than one you've played in once in your career or whatever, helps. So yes, okay, you're not going to have 70,000 United fans screaming, but you're in familiar surroundings, and you've played there in your practice games leading up to it as well. So yeah, it is a definite advantage for United to be at home. And the way things are going with Sheffield United, also the fact that Dean Henderson won't be able to play. One of their players of the season, if not their player of the season. I think I'd fancy United for this one. Man United, that is, obviously.
Yeah, and obviously the same. It's Wednesday night, isn't it? United versus Sheffield. Yeah. Wednesday night. I think this has gone out Monday morning, and obviously Liverpool may be in the position of winning the title on Wednesday night as well. That's obviously a foregone conclusion, isn't it? And there was some comedy tweeting today by I think Adam Catterall. I know Adam a bit. You do as well from Key 103.
Yeah, I've worked with Adam. I used to work with Adam years ago.
There was some like did he really say it that Firmino is better than both Bergkamp and Cantona? Because I didn't see any tweets back from him, but I seen the sort of downback question.
He did a few of them, I think, to someone who's. I don't feel guilty because he said it and he's got to stand by it. Or Talksport tweeted it because I quote tweeted, and obviously United fans were like going on him. And he's like, they were like hammering him, and he sort of just replied with a few shushes or whatever. I don't think he was really buying. Like you say, I know Adam, and he comes out with some controversial opinions, but by and large, I'd say he's someone that knows his stuff. Yeah, and he's our age as well, so he's not a kid. He's not someone who didn't see Bergkamp and Cantona. So I just don't believe that he genuinely said that, thinking that it's true. Yeah, I don't know. It's either tongue in cheek or he's trying to get the callers to ring in, or he's just whatever. I don't believe, or he's kidding himself. I don't believe deep down that he thinks Roberto 1 goal at Anfield in 12 months, Firmino, is better than Eric 6 titles in 7 years, Cantona. It's just not having it at all. Not a chance. And normally, like we've lived in lockdown, we've had so many outrageous opinions. Like, you know, Roy Keane was crap in Turin. I've seen that.
For fuck's sake.
Yeah, Scotty was rubbish. Ryan Giggs was overrated. I've seen them all, mate. But come on, Roberto Firmino, who for me is bang average. I don't care what anyone says. Is better than. I'm not going to go into the Bergkamp one because I'm not. I'm a United fan, and I love Eric Cantona, and I watched Eric Cantona almost every game he played for United, and he was a talisman, he was a leader, he was a goal scorer, he created goals. You know, I went to Wembley and saw him score winners after winners. We saw when he got suspended, we missed out on the title, he come back, we did the double. Leeds signed him, they won the league. We signed him off Leeds, we won the league. There's no coincidences there. He just won titles, do you know what I mean? And if you look back, my favourite sort of period in Eric Cantona was when he came back from his suspension towards the end of 95 to 96 season when you had the class of 92. He just led that team. And we won about 5 or 6 games 1-0, and he scored the winner in all those games, including at Wembley, to beat the Scousers in the final. So, no, I think Katz is having a bit of a giggle there, to be honest with you.
Yeah. It's been quite funny, actually, watching the sort of clickbait posts that have been going out, because they have, like you've been saying, the Keane interim one was that in the Athletic, and I was quite surprised that they printed it, because they tend to try and pride themselves on the articles they put out. But the Firmino one was bad, but it wasn't as bad as the Steve Nicol is better than Paolo Maldini.
I'll give Tony. Yeah, that's ridiculous to me. But there's 2 things I'll say on this. One, I have to sort of abide by my own rules. Now, I'm guessing Tony Evans, a lot older than me, saw Steve Nicol play week in, week out. Right? I didn't. I was a bit too young for that. I remember him. I wasn't overly impressed from what I remember, and it certainly doesn't stand out to me as one of the best defenders I've seen ever. Maldini is. But Tony Evans has been hammering this narrative for years. He has. That Steve Nicol's the best defender he's ever seen. So, you know, I don't agree with it. I think it's nonsense. It's very scouse. There's a scouse thing to do. Virgil van Dijk's best defender in Premier League history. After he's played there for 6 months, whatever, they were all going losing their minds. I'm like, stop talking shite. And it's very that sort of thing. Well, Steve Nichol's the greatest ever, and then you'll get loads of scousers will join in and go, oh, yeah, you're right. You know what? I've always thought that. But he's had that opinion for a while. He's stuck to it. He's someone he's seen. I don't know if he knows him. Maybe that's playing a bit of a thing. He might be mates with him slightly. Might have crossed over the years. But yeah, that's a load of bollocks, because I don't think anyone is ever having the conversation of the greatest ever fullbacks or the greatest ever defenders and sticking Steve Nichol's name in. Everyone is throwing Maldini's name in. Yeah. Even the likes of me and you, United fans, when you're saying who's the best fullback you've ever seen, I'm probably going to argue Dennis Irwin. If someone was debating me and said Paolo Maldini was better, I'd probably disagree, but I wouldn't lose my rag if I lost that argument. If someone, said, I'd pump the Maldini, I'd think, all right, fair enough. But Steve Nicol, no, come on, that's just, again, no, it's lockdown, mate. Lockdown's just brought out, you're looking for arguments, you're looking for something to say. And again, I'll give Tony Evans a oblige on that one, but the anti-United stuff as well. Was it Curtis Woodhouse who crept out? I forgot he existed.
Oh, for fuck's sake, yeah. Jesus. And then, that day when he was going about Ryan Giggs and Steven Gerrard, and Ryan Giggs is overrated because he's never won, he's never appeared in the PFA Team of the Year or something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah,
and he had done.
Yeah. It was just nonsense. It didn't make, and then he said, "Feelings don't care about facts. Don't care about your feelings." When his facts were wrong, and then he said, I played at a level. I won Player of the Year at Sheffield United and Peterborough. How many Player of the Years did Scholesy win? And I think that's like me saying, in my house, I was voted the best footballer by everyone in our house. How many times?
That's debatable, Ellis.
I joined. Joined second. How many times has Pele been voted best player in my house? Never. So I'm best. I'm better than Pele. What? This doesn't make any sense. This is just nonsense. You're just spouting nonsense. And it's like, and then you'll get anti-United people who agree with it and feed it.
Yeah.
And then because the United people who get onto it, and I'm guilty of it, I had to mute him in the end because I found myself getting sucked in and buying into it. He gets a lot of attention.
Yeah.
From someone who probably wasn't getting a lot of attention before that, and he's happy. So yeah, we've seen a few. I think going back to the Athletic one, the thing that annoyed me about that as well, it wasn't factually correct about the context. It said, I know this sounds petty, but it said United went into the game, I think 4 points ahead of Arsenal and Chelsea, or 2 points ahead of Arsenal and Chelsea, or whatever it said, which was wrong. We didn't. So you got to get your facts right if you're going to come out with things like that. And also, it oversimplified certain things. I don't genuinely think he watched the game again. I think he watched the highlights again. And it's just nonsense. It's just nonsense. It's like anyone who watches that game or watched that game and remembers and looks at it as what Keane did that night and the way it's lauded over and revered, he just knows that is one of the great midfield performances from any Manchester United midfielder ever. And if you're going to tell me it's bang average, I'm going to tell you to stop smoking crack.
Get in the smoking shed.
Yeah, the smoking shed, mate. There's one for you next round. If he does it again, we'll have him in there.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so moving forward, so we're going to get top 4 then, do you think, United?
I don't know, mate. I'm slightly concerned that there's not that many games left.
Yeah.
Well, we've got 8 games left. And what are we now? Let me just check the table. Sorry, I
think we're 5 points off Chelsea now. But I was looking at Chelsea have got a difficult run in, and they do have to play Liverpool. But obviously, I think Liverpool probably would have won the league by the time they face Chelsea, so that won't be as much of a difficult fixture. For me, I think that we could, and I've said this on I think I said it on Full Time Devils before the lockdown, is that I think that we'll end up catching Leicester. I think Leicester are going to fall off.
Mate, you're preaching to the choir there, pal. I'm glad you said that.
Because in many ways, when you were talking about Sheffield United punching above their weight, I think Leicester. I think Rodgers has done a fantastic job there. And every time I'm asked about United's youth squad, I think we should be going and taking the scouting system or whatever. Whoever's buying the players, Leicester needs to be coming to Man United for my money. So they were already having a season well beyond what they were expecting to. But I can see them drifting away, and they've not had the greatest results post lockdown.
No, they haven't, and I think you're right. I think they had that real purple patch, sort of once the season got going, didn't they? Like you said, Jamie Vardy was banging them in. Very reliant on Ndidi, Wilfred Ndidi. He sort of seems to be the one that holds it all together. You said, about the scouting system. They've got some good players there. They've got sort of for pennies, relative pennies, and then. Just before lockdown, things started to go wrong. It sort of happened as soon as people said maybe they're outside chance for the league title shout, which was nonsense. Everything went wrong. And I just wonder whether they might struggle to get it back. They've not looked, no one's looked amazing since we come back from lockdown, but then you look at they might be quite vulnerable. We have got that, as you said, the last game of the season against them. Are they going to drop 5 points, and are we going to keep maximum points between now and then, or are we going to make up 5 points between now and then? I think we could. I think we can, definitely.
We've got them last game of the season. We've got them last game of the season.
We go into that game with 3 points and we win it. I mean, it's lots of ifs and buts, obviously. Then that should be top 4. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. But yeah, I agree with you. I think they are looking vulnerable, and I think that it's not a foregone conclusion at all that they're going to get top 4. Even though a few weeks before lockdown, everyone was saying, forget Leicester, they're done. You're not catching them. Top 3's done. I'm not so sure it is. So yeah, we'll see. Just, I know it's a cliche, but anyway, we've just got to do our job. We've just got to do our job. And I think we've got the squad and the team to beat anyone. We have.
Yeah.
We can beat anyone, this team, on our day, obviously. We're beating City. All right, I'm not going to get too carried away with drawing at home to Liverpool, but we were 5 minutes away from beating them, and perhaps we should have done. So I think we can definitely, now you throw in Bruno and Pogba together, and the fact that Martial and Rashford are playing in front of them two for the first time ever together, then there's no reason to think why we can't beat anyone. So okay, it's only 8 games, whatever. But it's a big 8 games, and it's doable. We just got to go for it.
I completely agree. Right, we'll top and tail this as we'll end it as we started on like a political note. We were talking about John Barnes talking about Black Lives Matter in his lampoonish ways, but also this week both Jurgen Klopp and Guardiola have come out with political statements, and I wanted to see if you actually think that they should have a say on politics as footballers or footballing coaches. I think Guardiola said that he's ashamed of what white people have done to black people in reference to the Black Lives Matter movement. And then Klopp also into how the UK government has dealt with the coronavirus, said that if aliens looked at both Germany and England from the outside, they would think that we both came from different planets. I mean, I think we both can agree with both of the sentiments of what both managers, but do you think there's a place for managers to actually make that? I've seen people on social media say, well, for a start, that they shouldn't have Black Lives Matter on the back of the shirt. I was like, how much of a shit how much do you really care what's on the back of people's shirts? And a lot of the people are saying, well, why haven't they got the NHS? I said, well, look at the front of the shirt, and it's just absolutely ridiculous. But also saying that managers shouldn't be talking about politics and stuff. And I've seen a few people when so-called United fans that are on social media saying, I'm not following United anymore while we're padding to this left wing Black Lives Matter anarchy. It's just not on anymore. And I was like, Ferguson was a huge socialist. Matt Busby was a huge socialist. Do you know what I mean? It's like, what don't you know about the history of your club? So do you think that they're allowed to have their statements in the way that they have?
The only issue you've got with this is if Klopp came out the other way and praised the government and said that it's fantastic, would that be all right? Do you know what I mean? I think the Klopp one is a bit different because he's talking about the government and the government's actions. Now, me and you agree with what he's saying, but you have to look at it from reverse. If he came out and was full of praise for the government and said, this is amazing, the way you've handled the coronavirus is fantastic, I think Boris Johnson's the man. Is that all right? Do you know what I mean? So
I would have loved him to have said that and said that he reads the Sun.
Yeah, I read the Sun. And Boris Johnson is my hero, babe. I don't care how 25 points, whatever clear it is, he'd be getting sacked in the morning.
Yeah, that's
he wouldn't even make it to the morning. It'd be gone. Clear your desk, mate. You're gone. So that's the only thing I'd say. I think that managers have a right to share their opinions at the end of the day. That is, you can't say to them, you're not talking about certain things. I think they're entitled to. For me, with things like Black Lives Matter, with things like you're talking about coronavirus, whatever, I think you have to sort of address the issues at your own club and lead that example. So when Pep Guardiola is talking about how Black Lives Matter and how black people have been treated like shit and all the rest of it, okay then, show me those actions when you've got to deal with racism in your own club. Because did he cover himself in glory with the Bernardo Silva tweets? No. I don't think he did, personally. I don't think that was someone who got it, who understood where people were coming from when they said they found it offensive. Yes, he was defending his player, but you've got to look at it from the perspective of those who were offended by it. So there's an example. Jurgen Klopp, he's never had to deal with it as much as his club, really. We saw how his predecessor, Kenny Dalglish, dealt with it, or his predecessor, whatever. Was it Dalglish before Klopp? I can't remember. Was Rodgers in between? I think, it was.
It was Rodgers.
Yeah, it was Rodgers. So his predecessor dealt with it shockingly. Now, if Klopp had to deal with it where one of his own players was guilty of it, or his own fans were guilty of it, how would he handle it then? How would he lead by example and say, "I'm not having it"? Because it's very easy when you're accusing others to point a finger, but when you've got to deal with it at your own club, keep your own side of the street clean. Then we'll see whether you sort of your principles are principles or whether they're just tribalism. So, in answer to your question, fair enough. Managers have got a right to speak out. Fergie did it. I didn't have any complaints there. He wore his heart on his sleeve that he was a Labour supporter, and no one really questioned him about that. But I do think when it's things like racism and things like that, you've got to lead by example. And you've got to, anyone can say the right thing on the back of a movement where all the players, almost all of them, are behind it.
You're sort of forced into that narrative, aren't you, because of the situation around you.
But what are you going to do when it's one of your players who's accused of racism, or it's your fans who might have racially abused someone? Are you going to be critical of them? Are you going to stand up for Black Lives Matter then? That's when we'll see. So hopefully this is sort of shifting the narrative, or shifting the thinking, where we will see a bit less tribalism, a bit more progression when it comes to tackling racism. But I'll see. We've been here before, haven't we? We've been disappointed.
Yeah. So. Well, I mean, when we're talking about the football clubs and their statements, Guardiola got fined, didn't he, for always wearing the yellow ribbon? And it's quite interesting when you're talking about getting your own house in order. The FA, when we go back to the John Terry situation, them themselves are all for the Black Lives Matter movement at the moment. But in the past, I don't think that they've fined enough clubs or done enough, because before all this, there did seem to be a resurgence of racism in the stands, didn't there, over the last 12 months to 2 years? Yeah,
you're right. And again, I mean, giving someone a 4-match ban who's shouted "you effing black, see you next Tuesday" at a fellow professional, what message does that send out?
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Is that a joke or what? it doesn't send out a strong message, and it doesn't show me that you're serious about tackling racism. And I think that's the thing. It's like, again, it's just that, is there a shade of hypocrisy now? Is it just because you're forced into it rather than you actually believe it? And we need to see like actions.
Action.
Do you know what I mean? You mentioned there about racism in the stands. Man United have got one of the highest arrest rates for racism in the country, right? Or the highest number of arrests. Now, people will say to me, that shows United are the most racist club in the country. We're not. That just shows you that people are getting nicked when they're doing it. And I'd say why they're getting nicked, because people are fucking nicking them. People are saying, I'm not having that. Shut your fucking mouth. Right, yeah, get rid of him, get him out of here. And I've seen that happen. I've seen people saying, come on, I'm not having that, mate. Off you pop. Which is a good thing. I'm not saying it's a good thing as racism. I'm saying it's a good thing it's getting
self-policed.
Yeah, and I think there has to be an element of that with the clubs, and they have to sort of, again, goes back to something, keep your own side of the street clean. The FA have to do that as well as the clubs. And you mentioned the thing about Guardiola and his ribbon. I mean, City fans are going to be, oh, you anti-City, rude, typical. But Guardiola's talking about human rights and he's wearing his yellow ribbon and all that. The owners of City have got some shocking human rights records. How dare people in that country? They're absolutely persecuted. And you'll see City wearing yellow rainbow laces and stuff like that, and Guardiola refusing to talk about it and meeting with the owners and stuff. So it's hypocrisy and it's tribalism, and I think you need to get rid of those two things. You can't have it when it suits you. When it suits you, I'm going to talk out about these human rights. But not these ones. When it's racism against us, I'm going to talk out about it. When it's one of our lot that's guilty of it, I'm going to be quiet. No. Yeah, if you've got these principles, you need to show them when you're the one who's being accused of it, and you need to deal with it, not just when it suits you or when you're the victim, because otherwise it's just going to get nowhere. It's just going to carry on being tribal.
Very well said, my man. This has been Scotty and Motty to talk about football for this week. We shall see you very, very soon. Thanks everyone that's been getting in touch, especially the far right extremists that didn't like our Katie Hopkins and left nice comments in the previous one. They can fuck off. But if you like the show, will you please subscribe, like, tell your friends. We're having a laugh here. We hope you're enjoying the shows too. See you soon.